February is Black History Month, and Irving has several places to visit that honor the memory and contributions of notable African Americans. King Square Pocket Park at 200 Gilbert Road opened last year. It stands in tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and features plaques with some of his notable quotes. Not far from there, updates are progressing at the Jackie Townsell Bear Creek Heritage Center. Jenn Landry is the City of Irving's Director of Museums, and she joins us now. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and there is so much to talk about, but before we get to the specific improvements, let's set the stage. For new residents, what is the significance of the Bear Creek area?
So Bear Creek is one of the oldest freedmen towns in North Texas, and there is evidence of enslaved people living there and freedmen, but then after the Civil War, post-emancipation, it became an enclave and safe space for African Americans to settle, and so that was the African American community for Irving for decades.
So there are 3 buildings in this center that is named for former City Councilwoman Jackie May Townsell, who was a true gem.
Yeah.
And let's go through each of them so you can talk about the improvements. First up, the Masonic Lodge. What's happening there?
So the Masonic Lodge was the Masonic Lodge in the community, but also a community center, and we completely redid the exterior on that building. The siding had some condition issues, it had some moisture damage, and so we went back and restored the siding, redid all the windows, restored doors, the balcony that's on the back of the building, basically a complete overhaul of that building.
Tell me how that building is used.
The first floor is going to have an exhibit that is in progress that should open next year, and then the second floor, actually the Masons meet there. The original lodge that met there in the 1940s reconstituted in 2017, and so they have an active lodge in that space.
Next up, the J.O. Davis House. What's happening there?
So the J.O. Davis House also had to have complete exterior overhaul. We had custom siding made out of cypress wood so that it'll last a long time. Same profile of wood as it was on it previously. Installed an ADA accessible ramp on that building that is to code, as well as restored the porch and redid all the windows and doors on that as well.
And one that is really a trip back in time. The greenhouse, the Sam greenhouse. Tell me about that one.
So the greenhouse is a unique structure because it's a board and batten construction, which was very common but does not survive. Just the nature of it, it's basically a single thick wall, so not really inhabitable by our standards. But that building, we restored the exterior, did some foundation issues that addressed those, as well as put new porches on the space. That's restored to look as a home would have looked in Bear Creek in the 1920s. So it's a step back in time. No air conditioning, so come out in the summer and it'll be warm. But because we restored the doors and stuff, we can now actually open the doors and have crossway winds the way it was designed. So, you know, it's a better experience for the visitor.
So the work is ongoing, but tell me about the plans to have a reintroduction to the public.
Yeah, so it is available for tours currently. We will give tours, but the lodge and the Davis House both had exhibits in them previously, which we obviously had to take down because we had to take all the windows out of the buildings. So we are currently redesigning those exhibitions. We're going to go back in with more of a 21st century visitor in mind, but still covering the content of the African American experience and the Bear Creek community. And that is targeted to be completed in February of 2025.
All right, Jenn Landry, the City of Irving's Director of Museums, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, and you can learn more about the Townsell Bear Creek Heritage Center on the Irving Archives and Museum website. You'll find the link to Bear Creek at the top of the page.